International bitterness over the crisis in Syria has been laid bare this week at the UN General Assembly in New York. It culminated in a diplomatic clash between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and the US Secretary of State John Kerry.
The coalition airstrikes against government forces in Deir ez-Zor on September the 16th were a blatant violation of the ceasefire. Moreover, right after these strikes, Islamic State started their offensive against government forces.
Yes, the coalition did hit people on Saturday. We did. A terrible accident. And within moments of it happening, we acknowledged it.
We should refrain from emotions and not rush to make comment. We should carry out an investigation thoroughly and professionally.
I listened to my colleague from Russia, and I sort of felt a little bit like we're sort of in a parallel universe here.
The key priority is to separate opposition forces from ISIL and Jabhat al-Nusra terrorists.
It's very hard to separate people when they are being bombed indiscriminately.
Well, Kerry was referring to the UN aid convoy destroyed on its way to the embattled city of Aleppo on Monday. According to the Red Cross, 20 civilians and an aid worker were killed. Initial reports by the organization said the convoy had been targeted by an airstrike. However, later the UN backtracked on its earlier claims that the convoy was hit by military jets. Despite this, US officials said it could have been either Russia or Syria conducting the airstrike. Well, our RT managed to speak with the NATO Secretary General to ask for his views on the convoy bombing. Jens Stoltenberg saying it's too early to draw conclusions.
I will not speculate about that. It's important to get the facts and to find out how this could happen, but I will not speculate.
But Mr. Kerry called it facts, you know, when he was addressing the UN Security Council.
But that's not for me to go into. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The viewpoint of NATO Secretary General was in contrast to John Kerry's stance. RT's Murat Gazdiev taking a closer look now at the Secretary of State's allegations.
John Kerry has a reputation as one of the more reasonable voices in American politics. He's careful, thorough, not a rash person. This time around, though, he was a little more relaxed with the facts.
And just think about what happened in the last couple of days. First, President Putin's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, claims that the attack on the humanitarian convoy was somehow a necessary response to an alleged offensive by al-Nusra elsewhere in the country. That's the first claim.
No, that's the first lie. In fact, we have the actual quote from President Vladimir Putin's spokesperson, and it says, "I don't think it's right to make any unfounded statements about this attack," and that the military's collecting the details. But John Kerry didn't stop there.
Then we heard a completely different story. The Defense Ministry said that the aid convoy had been accompanied by militants in a pickup truck with a mortar. We've seen no evidence of that.
It's right there. It's been there for 24 hours ever since the Russian Ministry of Defense released the video. That is a militant truck towing a howitzer. We don't know who the truck belongs to, whether it's al-Nusra or Washington's preferred rebels. They're very friendly in Aleppo. Nevertheless, Mr. Kerry was on a roll.
Then the Defense Ministry switched completely. And it denied Russia's involvement. It said, according to spokesman Igor Konashenkov, I quote, "Neither Russian nor Syria conducted airstrikes on the UN humanitarian convoy in the southwestern outskirts of Aleppo." That's a quote.
That's what you call a straw man argument. No, they didn't switch because they never said that it was Russian jets who carried out this attack. In fact, the Russians said their jets had nothing to do with this attack from the onset. They later added that neither did Syrian jets. More than that, the Russian Defense Ministry released information that at the time of the attack, in the skies over Aleppo at a 3-kilometer altitude, was an American Predator drone. Washington denies that that drone was ever over Aleppo.
And that model of Predator drone carries Hellfire missiles, which have been used for targeted assassinations. It's been deployed by America in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, and now in Syria. And it seems that U.S. officials are happy to shift the blame in Moscow's direction before having a firm handle on the facts.
I don't have the facts. No doubt in my mind that the Russians are responsible.
This is the kind of thing we've seen so many times before, not only in Syria, but in Bosnia and Kosovo, Libya, other places. Something happens, and within minutes, Western officials are saying, this is who's at fault, here's what happened, here's the blame for it. And then only afterward, after all the headlines have gone around the world about responsibility, do we hear any argument about what the details are, what might or might not have happened. And those will be on page 19 somewhere.
All this noise and accusations are basically about America trying to get advantage back out of an unpromising situation. Immediately going and accusing Russia of being behind it before the facts were known, before any investigation was made, saying, of course, Russia was responsible for everything that's happened. This is really just the war of narratives that the West is very good at.
All right, coming up just a bit later on this programme here on RT International, a British general says Russia could invade Europe within days. His rhetoric drawing striking similarities with films from the Cold War era.